Hello and welcome to yet another edition and another week of the Spotlight right here on Prime TV and Vasantham TV as well, bringing to you a story that ignites change in Sri Lanka and around the world. Today I have with me Yashvin Senanayake, founder and CEO of Disrupt Media. He is also more commonly known as It's Yashvin. So welcome to the show and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
Not nervous?
Not nervous at all, yes.
All right. So starting up with my most basic question.
Yeah.
As a child growing up, did you always see yourself as, you know, in the digital space, content creating, videography?
Surprisingly, no. Actually, when I was small, I always dreamed of being an architect or a civil engineer.
No.
Yeah. But over the years, I realized that my true passion was actually creating content and, helping people be seen. So
was there like a turning point? Was there like a story behind it, or was it just something that happened overnight?
To be frank, it was never an overnight thing.
Okay.
I felt like it was a very gradual thing because I was in the music industry for quite some time and learned about 7-10 instruments. Thereafter, like, music actually is something that inspired me to do what I'm doing now. Okay. And I actually incorporate it a lot in my work, from the commercial work that we do to the travel stuff we do. We always try to make sound like the most important thing, in the in the end product. Okay,
so right now, what are you currently working on? What's down the pipeline?
A lot of things down the pipeline, but mainly is an expansion for Disrupt itself. We actually, after meeting a couple of my friends who were very eager to invest in the business, we decided to basically aim to become one of the biggest production houses in Sri Lanka, apart from all the mainstream media channels. We want to cater to a lot of, a lot of hotels, a lot of brands in the island, to help them grow, to help them become seen in a way where they never thought, that they could, reach. So basically to improve, to actually show what their potential is through sources of media.
So at Disrupt Media, what do you all exactly do? What are the services you'll offer as a company?
We're mainly a video production company, right? Okay. So we focus on a lot of content. Apart from that, we actually offer content like marketing consultations. So say you are a brand and you'd love to create content for yourself and you have no idea on how to do it. We'd give you that input on information on, okay, look, this is where you are right now, this is how your content is, this is where you can be, and we also give them the how to get there. So we offer them an entire pathway to becoming seen. And this consultancy part of Disrupt, actually, we offer to mainly clients abroad, not clients here. A lot of clients abroad find it very useful because remotely, obviously it's cheaper to hire someone from Sri Lanka to get all the information they need and to implement it into their teams and, to give them the knowledge like that, rather than having someone from their own country, actually. And to be frank, Sri Lankan people have a lot of untapped potential, and it's something that we're actually working on. So we want to give, at Disrupt, we want to give a lot of opportunity to a lot of young creators who want to make this like their full-time job. And that's what we do.
So is there anything that you specialize in
Specializing in travel tourism. So travel and tourism and fashion is one of our main focuses when it comes to creating content. We have the capability and the capacity to cater to a lot of areas in video production, but we try to focus on what we're really, really good at. So our niche is travel and tourism and fashion.
So now when a client approaches you, how does it start off? What is, the collaboration like?
There's an initial conversation where we try to understand what the client needs. So for anything in life, you have to understand what the other person wants. Then we get into the numbers, how much it is going to cost them, what the damage is, and then we have a bunch of people working on ideas for them. Mainly it's me, but we have a bunch of people working on ideas and then we propose it to the client. If they like it, they go ahead with it, and if they don't, we're completely fine with them using the ideas even, but as long as it serves their purpose.
How do you deal with a difficult client?
I think that's one of the toughest questions that a lot of people are afraid to answer.
Yeah.
Because every client is, I hope no one takes offense in this, they're difficult in some way.
Yeah.
It's just that they are afraid because they are spending their own money from their business that they've built into something that's going to help them grow even more. And they're constantly stressed about whether it's actually going to work. I think even in life, risk taking is one of the main things. So every client is difficult in a different way. So we try to focus and we try to understand their needs. We are not pushy when it comes to certain things. We understand, okay, they are stressed as well, they're spending money. We have to, find a way to meet in the middle and deliver the best possible product.
Now, let's say now you give in a budget, right?
Yeah.
And what if the client says this is too much of a cost? Are you the type of company to say, okay, we'll work something out, or you say, no, that's my cutoff rate?
We're a type of company that will meet in the middle if we see potential in the client. Not saying that there are so many clients who just want to create content and are just calling us for the sake of calling us and getting things done, but every client is important to us. And what we focus on is to actually meet in the middle if there is a chance that they will negotiate with us. But most of the time, building a brand for the past 5 to 6 years that I've understood is if they really want to work with you, there will never be a back and forth. There will always be okay, that's fine. We understand the amount of effort you're putting in as a vendor to improve our business. So we understand, let's go ahead with it.
So now when you got into the field, was it through experience? Did you learn on your own, or did you follow any material footsteps?
See, that's the thing. This is a field that is not education-wise, let's say.
Yeah.
Even being an entrepreneur is not really taught in school. It's always either you become a doctor, engineer, lawyer. It's all the mainstream fields, right? So to become who I am, to build something that I have built right now, everything that I've learned is number one through experience. That is the best way to learn about anything. And number two is obviously YouTube and online crash courses, digging up different people doing the same thing, researching about how they did it, researching about how they went about it and how they are right now, how did they get there. And it's mainly, actually people try to focus a lot on the final destination. They tend to lose focus on the journey. And I think the journey is the most beautiful part of, having that kind of success. Or I'm not saying I'm like completely successful, but to come to where I am, I actually enjoyed that pathway of learning, growing as a person, and a few other things I think we can obviously talk about. Yeah.
So now when in terms of challenges, it won't have been easy as well. You from the younger generation, right? Have you had any experiences where you deal with someone a little older and then how do you handle that conflict of age, conflict of interest? Yeah,
the age gap is something that really affects the work that I do, because everybody still sees me as a very young kid, They don't see me as a business owner, they don't see me as an entrepreneur. They see me as, okay, this kid wants to work for us, let's get him on board. Right? And they tend to underestimate the fact that I have the 5-6 years of experience that I've gained working from 500 rupees to working all the way where our prices are right now. It's all to do with experience. And that experience also comes with a lot of knowledge that we've learned over the years. So the underestimating part will come for sure. Even if you're a young person listening in, I think we have all had, we have that. Yeah. Because they think, oh, she or he is very young, does he have the necessary credibility to prove himself or herself right on this? Yeah. Especially in Sri Lanka, you see that a lot of young people are underestimated. Yes. But I'm connected with a lot of people, and especially the younger generation who are entrepreneurs, who I speak with on a regular basis. Something they constantly say is, when our parents were this age, either they were still studying
Yeah.
or they were doing something, trying to figure out their life out. But
All right. So now this field is also constantly changing, evolving. How do you stay up to date? How do you stay connected to all the modern trends, the tech that comes out, updates? How do you stay connected through all the work that you do as well?
Mainly social media. Social media plays a vital role in staying up to date with everything that you do. Also reading and staying updated on Google News and whatnot. So for example, right, AI is a up and coming thing, especially something that people are trying to implement into their businesses and even into their lives. Right? It makes things 100 times easier. But people are also scared to use it. That's where the play where you have to know, what the situation is with AI comes into play. So we're looking at, okay, you stay updated, but you also, while you stay updated, you're very careful with where you implement it and where you kind of, get to know, whether we can actually use this, whether this is something that will, keep growing, will become a trend. So
yeah. Another problem that a lot of people have is, okay, AI is coming in, will I lose my job? How do you deal with that mentality? Do you use, has AI come in positively through the digital landscape with the work that you do?
To us, yes.
Okay.
Makes things 100 times easy. But also, you can never replace a human touch into certain things. From building a story to creating a documentary, to writing a script, to drawing a script, that human touch can never be taken away, because you can tell a machine 100 things, it will learn from it and it will give you the reply you want to hear, but the way humans think can never be imitated. That's what I feel like. That's my personal opinion on it. But I feel like there is a possibility that one day people will fully implement AI systems, and maybe at one point they will start.
Do you think the job
replacing.
market will be a little unstable in terms of people losing their jobs?
The job market is unstable right now with AI coming into play either way.
Either way.
But it's something, like I said, going back to it, human touch can't be imitated. Maybe up to a certain extent, but emotions and feelings, things like that, you can't take it away, especially in the film industry. You're trying to make someone feel something, understand the story, and no better way to write a script than an actual human being writing it, rather than telling AI to write it.
So now, when you work with a client, you draw up a budget. A lot of people think, okay, he's going to sit down, drag a few videos here, edit it, add in some effects. But there's a lot more that goes behind the scenes. You don't have to give your pricing here, but on sort of what criteria do you all make a budget up? On what basis do you all give? Okay, if the client says, why are you charging so much? What are the reasons you give?
Ultimately, we come back to the point where we understand what the client needs. For example, you, X, are a client, right? And the client approaches us to tell a story. We're not just creating a video of this vase or this table or this studio right here. Right? We are trying to build a story to explain how we can sell the product, why this product is available for you to purchase. What advantages does it have? Everything has a story. Even the way this vase was built has a story. It's just a matter of saying it and how you say it rather, right? And the actual cost, more than anything, is for the idea behind the story. You're paying for the idea. And we try to make every single shot unique from the next, unless the client is very specific, okay, look, we want it like this. Still shot, that's it. But sometimes most of the time, majority of the time right now, given my presence on social media, given how I behave on social media and things that I post, people understand that I like to tell stories, a lot of them. And it's solely built on emotion, to how we actually write the script, and finally the end product in delivering a masterpiece that's uniquely available for you and your brand only. That will help you gain presence on social media, on anything actually.
Now, you work with multiple clients, right? Each client has a different story that comes along with their journey. how do you create pieces of content that are distinctively different? Because the creative arts is also important in that way. How do you come up with something interesting for each person?
See, that's a very tough question because everybody wants something different. Very
Yes.
rarely you'll see someone wanting the same thing as the previous client.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. So how do you deal with that creativity? Because you need tons of creativity to make it stand out from the previous piece.
yeah. So we try our best not to replicate.
Okay.
But there are moments where sometimes, okay, that shot should be taken like this, because if not, it will not make sense at all. Even if it comes to like a simple graphic post, which we used to do back then, not anymore, but we aim to do it in the future again. We want to create that uniqueness by even the smallest difference. It doesn't have to be a massive change in how we create it. It can even be a slight thing just for you to be a bit more unique than the previous person. So it's always like the little things.
Okay, so now when you create content, do you have copyright issues that come in? Do you always say, this is my piece? How do you deal with that?
I have personally dealt with issues when it comes to copyrights, like people copying my content.
Right.
Like the exact way I do it
Yeah.
is like I see it somewhere, or like my exact idea is somewhere else.
Yeah.
But in reality, there's at least one extra person thinking about the same thing as you, the same way as you, somewhere else.
Do you think
completely.
so? Or do you feel like, oh, he's probably really copying?
No, the first reaction is obviously that
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
always like, oh my gosh, we have the same idea, or he's definitely copied me.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's nice to think, be the bigger
Someone,
person and
yeah.
think of it in a different way than, think, okay, he copied me.
Okay.
So,
So, what inspires you?
my inspiration when it comes to content, or when it comes to life in general, or my journey?
Content. Your life story will be in I think, the next segment.
Okay. Content is inspired by music. I'll go back to my roots.
Really?
I come from a very musical background. I started off listening to my mother play the sitar, to my dad play the flute, and then I started learning to play the piano, then the violin, then the trumpet, then the
Okay.
saxophone, then the drums.
The entire
The entire selection of instruments. So that's where most of my inspiration comes from, and also my travel. You personally know how much I travel, and I
Yeah.
love the travel industry, especially because it's given me so much opportunity, from my 30-day adventure around Sri Lanka to staying in rural villages, listening to stories of people we don't even know that exist, have got me inspired to create things the way I create things.
So now, in terms of, just want to pop this question in. You all use drones and stuff.
Yeah.
Unlike like a media organization like ITN or something,
Yeah.
we have the access
Yeah.
to having drones and all of that. But as a private company, what are the challenges that come along with this? Because whenever you all send something up, have you all had issues where you had to like not use it?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. But I think over the years, we have gotten used to going through the right pathway to even take off at the smallest private place, because ultimately we have to respect laws abided by, the government. And if we do it, then there's 100 other people disturbing so many people in rural villages to anywhere, actually. So we try to go the proper way, where we send in the forms to wait for the approval.
So each time you use it, you have to. There's a process of.
To my information, there was a process where it's a one-time thing where you get it for a year, but over the years it's
like a
changed.
license.
Yeah, it's a license.
Okay.
So our stuff's all registered, and we obviously get permits to fly. I mean, 2 months ago we had the permit to fly over Sigiriya, but at a certain altitude, without disturbing the wasps and whatnot. But we also realized that sometimes it's better off not disturbing them at all, so take it at a distance, you know. Then we had to climb Pidurangala, and then we had to set up a camera there and then take the shot that we really needed. But most of the time when we can't get the shot, we try to outsource certain things. So we try to get another creator's content, we pay for it and we use it.
All right, welcome back to the show. We were talking about your, things which are down the pipeline. There's something which is a bit of a surprise, so we will not be releasing any information right now.
Yes.
But give us a subtle description on what's sort of happening.
We've been working in Sri Lanka with a lot of Sri Lankan brands for the past 6 years. I have personally been working like that. So something that we wanted to do is kind of step into international waters and explore a bit more, because everybody's doing it. It's not something original that we came up with. It's something that we want to do, and hopefully we succeed in it and we can publish more about it as we move along. But for now, it's something that's very interesting, something that's a bit different to what we're doing right now, and we want to focus on building brands not just here but spreading our creativity elsewhere as well.
So just a basic hint, it is that it's sort of going international.
Yeah.
Something.
Yes, something.
So something down the line.
Something down the line.
Okay, so now back in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, the Easter bomb happened. Then we went into the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah.
Then we came into an economic crisis. How did you deal with all 3 years consecutively? Because we weren't allowed to leave the house. How did you reach content? How did you deal with it, basically?
We were actually running at a massive loss, and previously our company was not Disrupt. It was called Crux Media.
Okay.
Something completely different that we were known for back then. And with COVID, especially COVID and lockdown, we were just locked into our houses, and I personally had COVID. The first wave of COVID, which was really bad. Being someone who constantly is on the road, traveling, exploring, affected me a lot, especially mentally affected me a lot, because staying in one place is not my
not your thing.
Yeah, definitely not my thing. Definitely want to be traveling constantly, be exploring, learning new things. So suffered a massive loss, closed the company down, burnt a lot of bridges, but over the years we have rebuilt those bridges, rebuilt those connections back, and we've overcome it. And I have personally, I've put it behind me. Okay,
it
money
happened.
Spent, money lost,
Yeah.
but we're still here. I think the most important thing, no matter what, especially if you're a startup, is to keep going, no matter how many times you kind of fall down. So,
So you mentioned this point earlier as well. A lot of people are in this field now. Everyone you talk to sometimes, I'm a digital creator, I'm this, I'm that. And even on social media, we see a lot of budding mushroom companies coming into the scene. What would you tell a client? How would you tell a client? You can't tell a client, pick me.
Yeah.
But in a very unbiased way, how would you advise someone to pick their company to do their content for them?
USP, your unique selling point comes into play. That's where it kind of properly comes into play. I had a very recent conversation with two very good friends, also two successful business owners. What they made me understand was something that no one has ever taught me. This is going back to the point where you learn a lot through experience and conversations rather than a book or a video, right? What they told me was, yes, you've been selling this service for the past 5-6 years, but when you come to look at it, your only USP is that you create unique content for every single client, but there needs to be something else. There's something missing. What can you do? That's when they made me understand that apart from creating unique content, you need to have that extra like that, just that thing that makes your customer want to work with you. I can't tell you what that is, then it would give away like trade secrets or whatnot.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's important to have something very unique to your company, something extra that you would do for a client. Go out of your way completely. It's okay even if it costs you 100,000. It doesn't matter. 100,000 can be earned within a week. But what's important is that you keep that client in your good books and maintain that relationship you have with them. And another thing, of course, is the relationship.
Yeah.
Build
Connections.
Build connections, because connections with people are the most important thing when it comes to business, because ultimately, more than the business itself, you're communicating and you're working with the people running the business. You're not, directly dealing with the business. So having good connections, maintaining good relationships, those are things that you don't learn about. So those are things that actually help you have that clientele, hold that clientele, the retention, and basically make you a better person in general.
So now, in terms of social media, you're very strong social media presence. Yeah. Social media is good, bad, and the ugly. How have you dealt with the last two?
But I wasn't very focused on building personal brand until last year.
Really?
Actually, I was posting things that when I went on adventures and posting anything and everything.
Yeah.
Recently is when I actually decided to build my personal brand. Mm-hmm. Because your personal brand speaks a lot when it comes to your personal business. Because sometimes that's what brings in most of the clientele. At least 30-40% of your clientele comes through looking at you, right?
Yes.
So having that strong presence means a lot. For example, me traveling and posting something beautiful would get me a hotel client, or like some hotel reaching out to me saying, hey, you want to come on board, shoot some content with us, collaborate, travel with us and see how it goes. So things like that. And I genuinely have been focusing on very specific topics on social media. I mean, you follow me personally, so you understand. Yeah. Mental health is something that is constantly in my head, personally going through so many things. Men's mental health is something that's very underrated.
Definitely,
Definitely underrated, not taught in school. Then personal, building yourself up personally as a human being is something that I look into, and also entrepreneurship, because that's something no one teaches you in school. I recently spoke at a school, one of my old schools, and something that I realized was only one other person in the speakers panel was doing something similar to me. Not saying being a doctor is bad, not saying being a lawyer is bad, but there's always something nice about building a business, building something from scratch. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of your mental health away, your personal time away, your family time away, but it's something very beautiful, especially for personal growth. So I'm very appreciative of that other person in the panel, and I've known her for quite some time as well. So it's very nice to see that, and very nice to speak to the younger generation to teach them that keep your options wide open, and also be prepared to chase your dreams in a way where everyone will doubt you, but also if you have a dream, just work on it, keep working on it. No matter how many times people will tell you that you will fail, just keep going. There are times when I can shamelessly say I have sat down and rethought about whether I should start studying again, and whether I should start doing something more stable. But there's no excitement in that for me, and I'm very happy of how far I've come and where I've come now. And I think you can talk about this a bit later in detail, but the education system never teaches you how to behave, act, and when you're in the real world, how to deal with real life situations and issues. No one teaches you. They teach you maths, but they don't teach you financials.
Yeah.
How to deal with your financials, right? They teach you life skills, but they don't teach you how to deal with someone who's like a really annoying client, or somewhere along the lines of that. They also don't teach you that your mental health is very important to your personal growth and your personal life. It affects a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. And especially for someone working constantly behind a screen, how do you deal with that? It's a very draining process.
Very. I'm sure you understand with your hustling as well how difficult it is to keep a straight face at times.
Yeah.
Anxiety is something a lot of kids deal with these days. They don't know how to deal with it because they were never taught how to deal with it.
Yeah.
They're always experiencing it on their own. Something that's not spoken about are the suicide rates due to anxiety and depression, which is why I focus on trying to at least put a word out that you actually mean something in the world. No matter how many mistakes you have, no matter how you look or what you do, you mean something. And I have personally suffered from plenty of anxiety attacks. I actually had one yesterday because of a small situation at work. But see, the most important thing is that you get through it, because it's just something small that's affecting you. Once you identify the problem and once you learn through it, you can grow, and then you can leave it behind you and realize what's really important in your life.
From as a country, let's start here, right? So as a country, what do you think we could do more in terms of, you spoke about education, but are there other aspects that we could improve on in terms of contributing to the digital landscape?
I think
maybe more empowering?
Yeah, so I feel like the whole digital side of the world is not exposed as well as it should be in the education system. There needs to be more open world subjects in school, taught in school, like a lot of things like life skills. Yes, very important to know how to change a pipe or to use a hacksaw, to
change a tire.
Yeah, change a tire, things like that. But also it's important to make kids understand that the real world is completely different. No one teaches you how to be independent. No one teaches you that once you reach a certain age, you have to be completely independent.
Exactly, because you're in school for 15 to 14 years, and then you leave and suddenly you're just put into the jungle, and then the child doesn't know
no, they don't.
In an office how to deal with stress. So
it's basically like taking an animal from the wild and putting them in the city won't work. You have to teach the animal how to behave, how to act, and how to move about. If you don't, it's just gonna go. It's gonna just be chaotic.
So now, just to divert a little, with the digital landscape and with the work that you do, are there any specific laws and policies that regulate content in Sri Lanka? Or are we still getting there?
We are still getting there, I feel like. But there are certain laws that are implemented, as much as I am aware of.
Yeah.
Apart from that, we're still getting there. We still have a lot of improvement. There's still a lot of improving to do.
Where do you think we need more improvement?
In terms of this being an actual job, this is not just a hobby. It's something that you can make a lot of money out of. Every business needs content. Every business needs a photographer or a videographer. Every business needs to understand content in general to sell a product. Because ultimately, if you don't know about it, you're not going to buy it. And the only way to know about it is to see a picture of it, to get information about it, or rather to watch a video about it. So this is an actual industry that needs a lot of attention in Sri Lanka, and it's not getting the attention that it needs. Apart from the general media of TV channels and whatnot. YouTube, being a YouTuber is an actual job. I know I am connected with so many people who make a lot of money off YouTube, who monetize their content, and they are making a lot of money out of it. Where content and videography or content production is concerned also, no matter how many agencies pop up on a day-to-day basis, hundreds of agencies pop up, within a month you'll see 2-3 new people actually making it in the industry. But it's not prioritized, this is an actual job. So that needs to be, that word needs to be out there.
Yeah, and I think our generation have sort of embraced it. I think that ice and this wall needs to be broken with the older crowd, because they think, okay, they think it's not really an actual job, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So I think I think it's all about the thinking pattern, which needs to be changed.
Sri Lankan mentality needs to be changed a lot.
Yeah.
I can openly say it, shamelessly say it. We're very narrow-minded. We need to be a lot more open to more like brand new things. There's a lot of new things in the market. There are a lot of new careers in the market that have not been like
Tapped.
tapped publicly. You know, there are people working quietly as digital nomads in Bali, Sri Lankans especially. We have, as Sri Lankans, we're very creative people. One. Number two is we have a lot of potential that hasn't been tapped yet.
Which is sad.
Which is sad. Actually, it's very sad because I see so many younger people who want to do certain things, but they're very restricted from their household, which is something that, you know, a lot of parents also need to understand. If your kid doesn't explore options, no matter how much money it will cost, they will never know what they want to really do in life, and they will never be happy. I know so many of my friends who studied a specific subject to become what their parents wanted them to be, and they are not happy at all. So many people taking their own life because they are not happy in life.
Yeah.
And I don't like to see it, but it's happening in right now, even as we speak. So many issues, just because we're very narrow-minded.
It all starts with the mentality.
Yeah.
And that needs to be changed. It starts with parents as well.
Yeah.
So, in terms of quality of content, how do you ensure that you remain consistent with it?
Right now we are very consistent, but back then it was a brief learning curve where we had to understand that no matter how much the client pays, you don't you don't sacrifice the quality of your product, because ultimately that speaks your brand. So never say, okay, this client is only paying me like say 20,000 or 30,000. Why should I give him the same quality as a client paying me $1 million? They are still a client. This is all they can spend. Sometimes they're very honest. I love honest clients. Sometimes they'd come to me and they'd openly show me their books and they'd be like, actually, you know, we're like really starting slow and I'm spending my own money on this. Can you help me out? If I have time, 100%. I'll even do 2-3 videos or like pieces of content for free, give them ideas, sit down with them, have a cup of coffee and, you know, explain to them this is what you can do. And okay, I explained that the market is saturated because there's two types of people in this field, especially in this field. There's a group of people doing this as their full-time jobs, as their main career path, and there's also a group of people doing this as their hobby. And for group 2, they need to understand that group 1 exists in the ecosystem, and it's all about maintaining yourself in a way where you don't damage the other person living with you, right? So even if you're like, say you're married, you don't do something to your better half like knowing that it would like hurt them or affect them. So for us also it's like that. It's a constant change in patterns with pricing to costing, because you'll have someone smaller coming in and the client will agree to it because that price is very attractive. As Sri Lankans, obviously we want to spend less but do more.
Yeah.
I would do the same, right? Even building the company up, I always say, okay, let's see, we'll work around the budget and we'll get a lot of things done, right? But you also need to understand, okay, I'm paying this much for this much of work, right? And group 1 has a better chance of improving my business to a certain extent, and that investment will have a return. So you have to always look at the ROI. Whereas when you look at group 2 only focuses on making that quick money. You're like, oh, this is a hobby, some extra money, 20-30K, you know, I can have a good time afterwards.
Bit of a side hustle.
Yeah, a side hustle. But they need to understand that group 1 exists and this is an ecosystem that needs to be balanced, and you can't afford to burn bridges and make anyone upset while doing something you actually love doing.
And mutual respect is also important. Well, we're on the final lap this Monday evening. From a global perspective, what do you think of the industry in Sri Lanka?
I think it's this industry that we're in right now. it's a very beautiful industry that keeps on growing and that keeps on giving back to the community as well. But we as Sri Lankans have a lot to understand about it, and there's a lot of improvement that needs to happen. But I have faith that it'll happen in time. So this is to hope that that we grow even a bit more in the coming years, and we understand that this is actually a career. And I hope the market doesn't get further saturated more than it is right now. So yeah, I hope that there's a lot of improvement that can happen in the next few years.
As a young entrepreneur, as a young person in the digital space, you've made your mark at a very young age, which is commendable. What do you want to say to young people entering into the field?
I'd say chase your dreams, because at the end of the day, if you don't do something that you love in life, you're never going to be happy. So always focus on the positive, and always remember that you have yourself to pick yourself up when you fall. Failure, it's not you win or lose, it's actually you win and sometimes you learn. So your failures are constantly learning curves to improve on yourself, your business, or whatever you've started. So keep going and keep pushing yourself, and try to also, while you work hard, focus on yourself a bit, because ultimately you are the main character in your story. And learn to give yourself some time, learn to take some time off, and like settle down, take a breather, give yourself a break, but also be better, a little bit better every single day. Don't try to do everything at once. Pace yourself. And something important that I never learned is planning every single day goes a long way for you, especially if you're trying to be an entrepreneur. So time management, self-improvement, and also keep a good mentality and always stay positive, and definitely keep going.
And just two more questions. What would you tell someone who wants to take this as a serious, not a hobby, as a serious job, as a career, but they're unsure, thinking, will it be stable? Will the income be a stable income for a month? What do you have to tell people like that?
Life's all about taking risks, right? So if your heart is telling you something and your mind is cooperating with it, and if you feel like this risk is something you need to take, always take it. Don't think twice. There's always that margin of failure that you can deal with later when you come to it. Get to that place, then deal with it. But I'd say go right ahead and take that risk. There are the financial issues that come as you go along that you'll understand, but you overcome.
Yeah.
There's always a solution to every problem. So just keep going and take that risk.
All right, your final take-home message to everyone watching us today.
I just say keep going. Keep pushing yourself beyond your limits. Try to, like I said initially, take time off for yourself, because you're your main character. And always, no matter what anyone says, just chase your dreams and be better every single day.
All right, Yashvin, thank you so much for speaking to us today, and wishing you and your company nothing but the best.
Thank you so much.
All right, that brings us to the end of yet another edition of The Spotlight. Join me again next Monday, same time, same place. Until then, have a pleasant evening and be safe.